This is holding you back. And you know how I know that? Because it was holding me back as well. Today, we're talking about that feeling that you are alone. It's really common. A lot of people feel this way, and a lot of people really aren't in touch that they feel this way. I certainly wasn't until I started really doing that work, and then I realized it's true, I do feel alone. So why does someone feel alone? It could be many, many reasons. For me, it was, I think, having something happen to me in my life that was pretty scary, and I was really afraid. And when I finally did tell adults about it, no one really helped me. And I realized that I had to take action for myself as a child to remain safe. And in that moment, as I look back in time, I realized that was the moment I realized I was truly alone. I also struggle with feelings of when I was a child, learning I was adopted, and really feeling like my parents didn't want me. I was unwanted in the world, and someone took me in because they felt sorry for me, not because they necessarily loved me, which is not the truth at all. But as a child, I heard a story from someone that sort of pitched my coming to my family as I was prize number 2. So I had heard that my parents wanted this other little baby girl that was from the Midwest. And when that child was born, the parents decided they wanted to keep her. And so my parents didn't get the child they were hoping to get. But then I came along because I was a child from a teenage birth, and I was just sort of left at the hospital. So my parents ended up getting me, which they didn't expect at all. And that being my, origin story, as it were, in my childhood, when somebody told me that when I was a little person, I don't even think I was double digits in age, that became the narrative for me that I was not necessarily wanted. And also, I was alone. I was alone because my mother left and just left me at the hospital and walked away. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was a story that was part of my narrative. And then not being helped when I needed to be helped by grown-ups, or my perception of not being helped. Again, I was this small child, right? So I grew up feeling I was alone. How do you know if that's part of your belief system or your internal story? Here are a few things that might show you that maybe you feel alone. Are you somebody who does everything by yourself? You don't really rely on other people. You think oh, I need to get this done, so I'm just going to do it. And so you do it. Maybe you're a collaborative person at work, but in the end, you're the one that takes on the majority of work. You're the one that's organizing all of that all the time. You're the one that's doing all of your work yourself. You're not parceling it out. Maybe you're having a hard time delegating and things like that. You do everything yourself. You don't rely on people. You often have high standards for things that only you can meet, and they're not necessarily realistic, but you'll go above and beyond to meet that bar, to hit that bar. You in a situation with someone, when the going gets tough, you just want to leave. You're not, you think you're better off by yourself. You don't have to put up with this person. You don't have to bend or adjust. You just, go off and do your own thing rather than work on that relationship. Those are just a few of the feelings of being that tip you off to, like, maybe I do have this mentality that I am alone. And that can be really, really hard to be going through life like that. You feel like you can't count on people. You enjoy being alone much more than you enjoy being with others. And all of these are not to isolate out and say, well, I'm an introvert, so that's why I don't like being with others. Maybe you're an introvert partially because you feel like you're alone in the world. When you think about how to solve a problem, are you thinking about just how you will solve the problem? Or do you ever think about who can help you solve the problem? And things like that. To just be mindful of how many times are you really thinking of, is this something I fix on myself, or can I employ others to help me out? Now, of course, there's two sides of this pendulum, right? You can be somebody who never solves any problems for themselves, and someone who solves all problems for themselves and never asks for any help. So I'm not talking about those two sides of the pendulum. I'm talking about the space where you want to be is somewhere in the middle, where you can ask for help when you need it, but you can also do things on your own when needed as well. You're not on one side or the other. And I was definitely on the side of I do everything by myself. I can't rely on people to do things. I have a hard time with, I do everything myself. I will feel like I need to leave this space when things get rough or something happens that really, really, really hurts my feelings. I'll be like, I need to go. When I was younger and I lived with roommates and things like that, if something happened in the household where somebody was really, really upset and angry, I would feel like I need to go. I'll just live by myself. I'll just go somewhere else. So if you have thoughts like that, where you feel like escaping by yourself all the time when hard things come up, it could be that you have this core belief that you are alone. And this core belief of you being alone can also manifest into, I'm not loved because I'm alone. I'm not lovable. I'm not a lovable person because nobody wants to be with me, because my core belief is that I'm alone. If you feel like you'll never find anyone to have a long-term relationship with, you don't have a BFF, whatever the situation may be, or the story that you have about being alone, you're manifesting it with this core belief that you are alone. You're proving it to yourself every day that you're alone. It's almost like you're out there looking for reasons to prove that you're alone. So this can be really powerful for people throughout their lives because you don't make connections with others. It's a little bit more challenging to have deep friendships. You don't let people in. You have so many secrets that aren't really worth being secrets. You don't tell anyone because you're alone and you're unlovable. And if you tell someone, that you have an insecurity or something horrible happened to you or whatever it is, then you're letting someone in, and that's against your core belief that you're alone. So you perpetuate it by not telling anybody. This was another thing that I did when I would start a new job or something like that, and I would never tell anybody anything personal about my life. Like, they didn't know if I had a partner, kids, or anything like that until a conversation would happen where I might say, oh yeah, something about my personal life. Oh yeah, my daughter said blah, blah, blah. And then people would know that about me, but I would never come out and say that ever. It would take years or so for me to say it. And then still I was very guarded. I didn't let people into my private life at all. And I avoided like social things at parties, say at work, say there was a party. I would avoid it because I didn't want to get in close with anyone. I didn't want any of these people I worked with to be more than just acquaintances I enjoyed while I was at work. I didn't let anybody in because that would go against my narrative of being alone, right? So if you're feeling like any of this is you, there are a few things that you can do to change that narrative within yourself. And we'll go deeper into that as time goes on. But a few things I want to leave you with today are do some meditation on that. Really concentrate on why do you think you are alone? Feel like you're alone. Can you trace that back to something? And then go deeper with it. Okay, so you felt alone. For example, like I felt alone when I told grown-ups something that was really important to me. And I was afraid and they didn't help me. So that was one of the things that made me feel alone. Well, why? Why did that make you feel alone? Well, when I told them and they didn't help me, I felt that no one cared. Well, why did you feel like no one cared? Well, I felt no one cared about me because maybe I wasn't lovable. And that is really what you're working with in that core belief of I am alone. Is it the fear of not being loved, that you're unlovable? What is it? Go as deep as you can with that. And why are you feeling unlovable? What does that mean to you? Well, maybe that means no one will care for me and I can't care for others. Just really explore what that might mean in a meditative state. So you find a place that's secure, that you feel safe, that's quiet, that you can really think about it. Sometimes I put on like a particular Hertz kind of music, like 493 or something like that, Hertz music. You can find a lot of that, especially on YouTube. If you Google it, just Hertz meditation music, and a lot will come up and you can kind of pick which one you want. Maybe I'll have that as background music because sometimes silence is a little too harsh or painful for people. Certainly for me, I find that to be true sometimes. And explore that in that safe way in your mind. What is the belief behind all of that? And once you figure out what that is, you can start working with that core belief. And if that belief is that you're not lovable, you can work with that as far as journaling out who does love you, people who do try to get closer to you, that there are those aspects that are that in your life that are proving to you that you are lovable, but you're choosing not to notice them. So to actively try and notice that out there in the world. Also break your cycles. When you find yourself, when someone says, hey, let's go have coffee, and you say no routinely, break that habit. Say yes. Explore what that's like. It's going to be uncomfortable. Believe me, it's going to be uncomfortable, but just keep moving forward with it. Keep moving forward. Keep being like, I'm going to do things with people. I'm going to show up at various groups and be in community with others. I'm going to be part of a community. Find something you're interested in. Maybe it's a meditation community if you're trying to work on that. Maybe it's a group of people who go do art in various places, or maybe it's, a drawing class, or maybe it's a meetup group, a journaling group, or a meetup group that goes to museums, or whatever it might be. Find an interest. Meetup is a really easy place to go to and be able to find groups of folks that have interest that you have, and then go there and see what that's like. force yourself into these places but be gentle. Like, don't do something that's really going to put you in a place where you don't feel safe. You start small. Maybe you strike up a conversation with someone at work that you haven't talked to, or somebody in the elevator, or the line at the grocery store or whatnot. Something like that. While you're waiting for your kids, strike up a conversation with another parent that you've seen there before. Get to know your kids' teachers. Things like that. In small ways, realize and be grateful for the people in your life that are there and showing you every day that you are not alone. You're not alone just by the fact that you have a child that goes off to school or daycare or something like that proves to you that you are not alone. People are helping you in this experience of parenting. And really be grateful for that. Wow, I'm really grateful for this person who's supporting me here at work. I'm not alone doing this job all by myself. There's a whole office filled with people who are helping me achieve this. I'm so grateful for that. Be grateful for all the support in your life. There's so many support systems in your life that you're just taking for granted, not really thinking about, when really they are there supporting you. So be grateful for those people. Stretch out of your comfort zone. Let somebody else do a task at work or do something. And if it isn't up to your standards, realize that your standards can be anyone's standards. You can change that standard. It's not set in stone, because remember, your thoughts are just your thoughts. They aren't truths. They're just thoughts. And you can change any of those thoughts at any time. It's hard. It's a process. And realize you're going to go forward and backward and forward and backward. And things are going to go well and not go well. And you'll have to rethink certain things and all of that. And that's perfectly, perfectly, perfectly fine. We all have these moments where we are experimenting with being different in the world. And some experiments will go well and others will not. So just taking the time to think to yourself, what experiments can I do today to prove to myself that, one, I'm not alone, and two, I have the capacity to create a rich and beautiful life with lots of people supporting me and loving me and caring for me. And how do I do that? And three, I am so thankful for everyone who is here supporting me, from the driver and the bus that drives me to work, to the people who take care of my children, to my neighbor who watches my cat, to the people who clean the sidewalk. There's so many people supporting you and making sure your life goes on in the best possible way that it can. You have people picking up your garbage for you. You have people who are at work helping you achieve. You have people who fix your car when you need it, who drive you in various modalities to the places that you want to go. You have a rich and vast resource system of support where you are not alone in this world. You're not alone. Just that you're here listening to me at this point in this podcast proves to you you are not alone, because I am here helping you, trying to support you, and you are helping me. And that's what I look at when I feel alone. Look at all these people helping me and wanting me to be successful in life. There's so many people out there helping me in my life. And I so appreciate that. And I appreciate you. So those are a few things that you can do to really contemplate, do you have a core belief that you are alone? And if that is true, why? And dig down deep into that until you find the root of why do you have this belief that you are alone? And what in your life has proved it? Are they beliefs from childhood? Because you were a child navigating the world. Your understanding of what was happening was so limited that maybe you can give that up a little bit now. You can retell that narrative. It doesn't have to be that anymore. And if it happened to you in your grown-up life, it's not something horrible that happened to you is not your norm. That is not the reality you can create to yourself. Something horrible happened and it can be better. So make it better. You can do it. You can retell that narrative. You can understand that this was not something that happened to me every single day of my life, but rather this is something that happened to me once that was horrible, that I'm challenged by, but I am still a rich person living a rich life with so much ahead of me and so many people supporting me. You can retell that story once you get to the bottom of the story. You can understand it more. And then be thankful. Be thankful for everyone and step out of your comfort zone and change those patterns in brief, small ways, and be kind to yourself when you have a setback, because you will. That's just how it is. And sooner or later, things will become easier. So that's my advice for you today, my friend. Take good care. Know that I love you and I support you, and I'll see you in the next one.